Good evening and welcome. Thanks very much for tuning into NDTV. And remember, on every story that matters, the buck stops here. Is the Islamist takeover of Bangladesh imminent, and is the stage being set for that by carrying out attacks on local politicians and blaming India for it? Is what we are seeing in Bangladesh play out over the last 1 month naked Hindu phobia, and why is the world quiet? Are Hindus of Bangladesh becoming cannon fodder for the rampaging Islamists? Remember how last week violence was unleashed against Bangladeshi Hindus and Indian interests after the death of Inqilab Manch leader Osman Hadi. He was shot in the head by masked assailants on the 12th of December. When news spread of his death in hospital a week later, violent mobs went berserk. They attacked newspapers, they attacked the Indian embassy, and they lynched a Hindu man, Deepu Das, purportedly on the suspicion of blasphemy. Today there was an eerie sense of deja vu, with that playbook being repeated with yet another such youth leader, Mutallab Sikdar, the Khulna divisional chief of National Citizen Party, being shot just as he prepared for a rally. The culprits? Again, unknown gunmen. So who is behind these attacks? What is the motive? The pattern seems eerily familiar: to target India and to target Bangladeshi Hindus. Remember how Deepu Chandra Das was killed within hours of Hadi's death being made official. That lynching was justified at that time by accusing Deepu Das of blasphemy. Now, even the Bangladesh police is forced to admit that there was no blasphemy done. Deepu Chandra Das did nothing wrong. He said nothing blasphemous. And yet, he was dragged out, beaten, and then his body was set on fire. Even the smallest piece of evidence to show that he had committed blasphemy is not available. As for those who tried to make India the scapegoat by linking it to the attack on Osman Hadi, they should also listen to their own police. Because even on that count, the Bangladesh police is clear. They have no inkling of where Hadi's murderers are, far from actually linking them to India.
এই ফ্যাক্টরির ফ্লোর ইনচার্জ তাকে ইস্তফা দিতে বাধ্য করে এবং ইস্তফা দেওয়ার পরে উত্তেজিত জনতার কাছে সে হ্যান্ডওভার করে দেয়। পুলিশের কাছে কেন হ্যান্ডওভার করেনি এবং তার নিরাপত্তা কেন নিশ্চিত করেনি, সেজন্য সংশ্লিষ্ট কর্তৃপক্ষ যে পায়োনিয়ার নিটি ফ্যাক্টরি দুজন এমপ্লয়িকে আমরা অ্যারেস্ট করেছি। এই 7 জনের ভিতরে 2 জন এমপ্লয়ি আছে। এই জিনিসটা খুবই অস্পষ্ট। আমরা বারবার চেষ্টা করেছি জানার যে কাকে বলেছে, কি বলেছে, এটা কিন্তু কেউ বলতে পারেনি। এবং আমার মনে হয় যে উত্তেজিত জনতা আর কোনো প্রিভিয়াস এনিমিটি কারোর সাথে কোনো ছিল কিনা সেটাও আমরা তদন্ত করে দেখব।
তো আমরা আপনাদের সামনে হয়তো এই ব্রিফিং এরই হয়তো এইভাবে দরকার হতো না। শেষ অবস্থানটা সুনির্দিষ্টভাবে আমাদের কাছে এইভাবে তথ্য নাই। আমরা
Mind you, even though this entire blasphemy farce has been called out by the Bangladesh police itself, these assertions continue, and so much so that today the Inqilab Manch, to which Osman Hadi belonged, had the temerity to even put the Yunus government on notice. They have threatened to launch a movement to oust the interim government if justice is not ensured for Osman Hadi, if his murderers are not caught. Which brings us to the simple question: is the Islamist takeover of Bangladesh imminent? And in the face of religious brutalities being exposed by the lynching of Deepu Das, what explains the silence, the conspicuous silence of the world on what is actually happening in Bangladesh? Joining us today is Abhijit Ayar Mitra, senior fellow at IPCS and political analyst. Also joining us is Shafqat Rabi, political columnist and founder of the centrist Nation TV. And Muqtadir Rashid, senior journalist, is also joining us from Bangladesh. Mr. Rashid, I want to start by asking you, it's become amply clear that what happened to Deepu Das, that whole blasphemy allegation, that was nothing more than a fig leaf. Is this open Hindu phobia that is playing out in Bangladesh?
Not at all, not at all. There is no Hindu phobia in Bangladesh. It is absolutely heinous crime committed against a Bangladeshi citizen, and which is condemned by every other citizen in Bangladesh, except few far right and those who have connection with some Islamist group. They are very much happy with this kind of blasphemous acting and other things. But we don't believe in that. We believe all the criminals should be arrested for this, and they should be getting every kind of legal support so that the justice should be ensured in this case.
Then why was
So
he
we are
not
not
killed?
supporting.
If this is not Hindu phobia, why was he killed? What did he do wrong? It got nothing to do with Awami League. It got nothing to do with Sheikh Hasina. Why was he brought up and killed?
Let me tell you, more than 150 Bangladeshi were killed brutally over the 15 months since Dr. Yunus has taken his duty as the interim chief. So it is not new phenomena, but this time many media is making a huge hype only with their religious optics. But we are considering it absolutely humanitarian ground, human rights ground, because it's a Bangladeshi citizen and he was charged and he was prosecuted, or like he was framed as a criminal, and then he was like that.
Sure, you said 160 people were killed. I'm glad you're at least acknowledging that 160 people have been killed, although the unofficial figure is far more. Why was Deepu Das killed? Why was he killed? What did he have to do with Osman Hadi? That is the central question.
I'm not investigator. I'm a journalist. I'm taking information from the police authority. I'm trying to figure out how it happened. And so far, it was absolutely a criminal intention. And you have already heard from the RAB official what he has said, that they are still looking for the information. And in Bangladesh, there are so many such cases because this government somewhat backing this kind of mob activities, and that led two newspapers was, you see, the two newspapers were gutted recently, and that was the attack by far right wing, and many civil society members are now looking like just showing their blind eyes to
okay, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, is it only a law and order issue? Like Mr. Rashid says, 160 people have been attacked. Why pick out only one Hindu man? He is also wondering why Deepu Das, but he was one among 160.
Thanks, Padmaja. If you remember, during when this current mob government came to power, when the mobs arose against Sheikh Hasina, the legitimately elected prime minister, you will remember they attacked lots of Hindu places. They attacked temples, they attacked all kinds of things associated with Hindus, because in a sense, the Awami League is seen as a pro-Hindu party. Pro-India, pro-Hindu, these have always been conflated. The previous panelist is right to the extent there isn't significant, but there are pockets, and this association has always been there in Bangladesh, whether we like it or not, number one. Number two, we need to remember that this is the classic case of a revolution swallowing its own children. Every revolution swallows its own children. You see across the world, in Iran, in Pakistan, in Algeria, so-called secular types like Muhammad Yunus have made an alliance with the devil, in which case mostly the Islamists, and invariably Islamists grab power one way or another. So Muhammad Yunus is getting his comeuppance in that sense that he has failed miserably to fix anything. Remember, he was part of the same corrupt system he now claims to, oppose and whatnot and all of that. This is a government that has never had control. Forget losing control. They never had control. It was a puppet government. The man didn't even want to declare elections till the army forced his hand. And this is where we have to be thankful that the Bangladesh army, unlike the Pakistan army, actually forces its government to have elections, as opposed to, cancel or hijack elections the way the Pakistan army does. Now, we need to be very clear. Muhammad Yunus was never in control. He's lost control. The further he continues like this, the worse the situation is going to get. I suspect till 26th February, when the elections are supposedly scheduled to happen, you can see this situation getting a lot worse.
Shafkat Rabi, he made a pact with the devil, and now the devil is dictating the terms, namely the Islamists, who are basically people like the Inqilab Manch, are telling Muhammad Yunus they are putting the government on a deadline and saying either you do justice or we are going to topple you.
Well, thanks for bringing me back. I do not know where to start. You guys are throwing a lot of words in here, but let's calm situation down. The horrific killing that happened in Baluka, the guy was actually framed by his colleagues. It's a criminal investigation where his colleagues, he recently got promoted, and his colleagues framed him as a blasphemous person, which he was not. He never wrote anything online or anywhere insulting the Prophet or anything. So he was a poor man, a poor Hindu person, and his colleagues, ganged up on him, killed him
Correct, but
brutally.
Mr. Rabi, the fact also remains that there was a mob that assembled, there was a
Yes.
mob that was allowed to assemble, and there was a
Yes.
mob that was allowed to burn him, and subsequently there was plenty of inflammatory discourse online, and all of that has gone unchecked. So it's not just
Right.
about the murder of one man, it was the murder
No, I'm not
of
saying it's
22
just
man
one
and
murder.
everything
All I'm
else that
saying is the
followed.
context is that it's a criminal activity that happened. And the way we as journalists and as media people, the way we need to investigate these things is that when you see the society is actually supporting things like that, major political parties supporting things like that, then it is bad. That's not happening right now.
But it
Either the
is.
government.
We had Osman Hadi's sister who was on record saying that we are fighting a 200-year-long war with India. What kind of war do you think that she is referring to? That is not about law and order. That is not about military war. That is clearly
Well,
got
these are-
religious connotations. This
These are
entire issue
You are
is based around
conflating two
religion.
different things in here. The demography that's upset at India, these are people in their 20s and the 30s. Half of their life was under a dictatorship, which was propped up and perpetuated by one country, which is India. And for these young people, they are upset, and we need to let them some time and space to heal. But that's not happening right now because Sheikh Hasina is actually staying in India with her entire apparatus. So it's a generational problem right now. I'm in my late 40s. You guys are probably slightly younger than me or whatever. But these young people are angry because they haven't seen anything else but pandering by India of the person who
What does
killed a
this
lot
have
of
to do
students and
with
left.
Sheikh Hasina? Sheikh Hasina being in India, how does that translate into a poor man being killed or violence being unleashed on the streets only against the Hindu community, or their temples or their puja pandals being attacked?
Yeah, so you are absolutely right. There is no linkage. The linkage is actually what you are thinking, but there is none. These are two separate issues. There's a law and order issue.
But it's not happening at the same time. The Jamaat-e-Islami, which is also opposed to Sheikh Hasina, is the one that is unleashing this kind of violence, Mr. Rabi. How can you not see a linkage?
Look, I'm not naming names. All I'm saying, we are all part of South Asia. In Kerala, a Dalit was killed a few days ago, thinking that he's a Bangladeshi, and his murder was brutal.
That's where the whataboutery comes in.
So,
Sir,
no,
the
I'm not
problem
doing
is
any whataboutery.
that what
All I'm
happened
saying,
in Kerala,
in South
action
Asia,
was
in
taken
South
against
Asia,
the culprits
in
by
South
the Indian,
Asia,
by the Kerala
crazy people
government,
exist.
as opposed to what is happening in Bangladesh, where state sanction is being given to these violent mobs.
No. Try to understand the point here. In this part of the world, there are crazies out there who do crazy things. So the way you figure out
there is a
whether
difference
the
between
nation is
state
crazy is by
sanction to the
looking at the
crazies
government.
as opposed to the crazies who may exist, but they are put behind bars as they should be in any civilized society.
12 of them are actually in bar right now. So that's what I'm saying. The way we educated people have to assess the situation is whether major political parties or the governments are behind this. That's not the case.
Okay,
There
very
are
quickly,
crazy-
Abhijit Ayar Mitra respond, then I'll bring in Harshvardhan Tripathi. Crazies exist everywhere, including in Kerala, like Mr. Rabi pointed out.
Absolutely. The point is well taken. Crazies exist everywhere, but it takes a very unique kind of polity to externalize their own situation to everything. Mr. Rabi's whole thing that Sheikh Hasina was propped up and backed by India is the biggest problem out here. This is the root cause of all these conspiracies. Who exactly conducted elections in Bangladesh? Was it the Indian Election Commission? Was it the Indian Army that was supporting her? The Bangladesh has an army which has conducted coups in the past. They've had the Bangladesh Rifles try to conduct a coup, after which it was disbanded. The whole notion is that if you are friendly with India, India is propping you up. This is exactly the kind of incredulous, non-serious conspiracy theories that have fueled and kept aside this incompetent, illegal, illegitimate government, so-called government clown show that is running Dhaka these days.
Harshvardhan Tripathi, how would you respond? Because we've got the journalists here from Bangladesh. वो कह रहे हैं कि देखिए 10 लोगों को अरेस्ट कर लिया गया है. अगर दीपू दास का मर्डर किया गया वो गलत है. सब लोग उसको कंडेम कर रहे हैं. क्राइम्स हर जगह होते हैं, आपके देश के अंदर भी होते हैं. उसको एक रिलीजियस कलर देना बिल्कुल गलत है.
पद्मजा, मेरी चिंता बढ़ गई है. हमारे जो बांग्लादेश के जो दोनों मित्र हैं उन्होंने जो बात की, इसने मुझे अब थोड़ा सा और डरा दिया है, क्योंकि अब बांग्लादेश वो हमारा बांग्लादेश जिसको हमारी सेनाओं ने अपनी जान देकर बनाया, जिस बांग्ला संस्कृति से हम लोग जुड़ते हैं, जिस बांग्लादेश को हम पाकिस्तान जैसा कट्टर रेडिकल इस्लामिक जिहादिस्ट के कब्जे वाला नहीं मानते थे, और आज भी मैं मानता हूं कि बांग्लादेश का बड़ा वर्ग वो इन रेडिकल इस्लामिस्ट जिहादिस्ट के साथ नहीं खड़ा है। मुश्किल क्या है, जब बांग्लादेश की जो वॉइसेस हैं वो ये कहने लगे ये एंटी हिंदू, एंटी भारतवर्ष, इससे आगे ये एंटी बांग्लादेश मॉब है। इस मॉब ने बांग्लादेश से जुड़ी हर पहचान को मिटाना तय किया। अगर शेख मुजीबुर रहमान के नाम पर, बंगबंधु मुजीबुर रहमान के नाम पर बने हॉल को उस्मान हादी के नाम पर कर दिया जाए तो आप इस खतरे को समझिए। दीपू चंद्र दास को जिस तरह से मारा गया, यह पाकिस्तान में हुआ करता था कि आपको किसी हिंदू से दुश्मनी है, किसी माइनॉरिटी से दुश्मनी है, तो आप क्या करते थे, ब्लास्फेमस एक तरीका निकालते, ईश निंदा कर देते। यही दीपू चंद्र दास के साथ हुआ। उसके जो उसका मैनेजर था उसने नहीं बचाया, पुलिस ने नहीं बचाया, और जिस तरह से मारा गया, एक आप लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की सिचुएशन कहते हैं, एक मेंटल जो जिसको कहते हैं ना कि मेंटल कंडीशनिंग कैसी होती है, कैसे माइंडसेट पर बांग्लादेश इस वक्त चला गया, वो खतरनाक है। और मेरी चिंता बढ़ जाती है जब हमारे दो बांग्लादेश के मित्र बैठे हुए हैं जिनसे हम ये उम्मीद कर रहे थे, तो अगर उनको ये डर लगने लगा है कि ये मोहम्मद यूनिस की जो तख्ता पलट वाली सरकार है, मैं फिर कह रहा हूं, अगर खालिदा जिया, शेख हसीना, कोई और पार्टी चुनाव जीत कर आए तो हम उससे अलग तरीके से बात करेंगे। मोहम्मद यूनुस को कोई अधिकार नहीं है, न तो मोरल राइट है, न किसी तरह का डेमोक्रेटिक राइट है, और ये जब से सरकार में केयर टेकर के तौर पर इनकी एक इच्छा किसी तरह से इलेक्शंस नहीं हो, फरवरी 26 के इलेक्शन भी नहीं हो, इसीलिए ये सब ये केयर टेकर गवर्नमेंट करवा रहे हैं।
Mr. Rashid, why are you smiling? You don't think this is a radicalization of a society?
There are some radicalization, of course, there are, and that is backed by somewhat, and due to the negligence or indifference attitude.
But they seem to be calling the shots on the streets and everywhere else.
But
And aren't you pandering to them? If Mohammed Yunus goes to Osman Hadi's funeral and says, we will carry forward Osman Hadi's dream, then you pretty much are legitimizing all the radicals. If you say there are some radicals, but you are legitimacy, sir.
There are some issues. Jamaat and its fringe elements are using anti-Indian sentiment to just win the election.
But sir, are they the fringe anymore?
Exactly
That is
what,
my question
exactly
to you.
what
Are they the fringe or are they the mainstream? It is the moderates who are the fringe now in Bangladesh.
That's true. And I agree with your point, because now we are under serious attack by the right wing. And those who are propagated by the ideology of the far right ideology, they are now mainstreaming everything. The social media has been taken, and they are controlling the education and other things, institutions and everything. So yes, somewhat we are under
the fringe is now the mainstream, and they have taken over the social media. They have taken over the mainstream. Then Shafkat Rabi, essentially, you are saying that you are turning into another Pakistan. What's the difference anymore? And it's not just us saying it. Here is what the editor of Daily Star, a newspaper which, by the way, had been against Sheikh Hasina, even Mahfouz Alam today has said that they didn't just want to burn our building, they wanted to murder the staff of Daily Star. We have entered an era of murder. You've got liberal voices in Bangladesh today saying that the Islamists, the radicals, they are the ones who are calling the shots.
So you want a reaction from me, or?
Yes, Mr. Rabi.
Okay. So look, I do not live in hyperbole. So I run a news platform which tries to be centrist, try to listen to all sides. So all I can tell you right now, the country is going through a phase where there are lots of people who are very upset, very young people who lost thousands of their friends. Many of them lost their eyes and limbs and voices and everything. These guys are upset. Very young people. These guys will be here. If they stay angry for next 10 to 15 years, it would be really bad for South Asia. Okay.
What are they angry with?
So as I said, there was a regime which brutalized these young people for very long. And that regime just collapsed last year. And we are going through a healing process. Healing processes are never easy. As you said, one of you guys just mentioned, revolutions eat itself. There is some truth to all revolutions. So we are going through a phase right now.
Is deferring.
Sorry, I'm not differing. I'm just giving you the perspective. So all I'm saying is,
no, because if you're saying
it's a time where it is going to be chaotic.
Sheikh Hasina in her email interview today has said that this hostility is being manufactured by extremists who the Yunus regime has emboldened. These are the same actors who marched on the Indian embassy, attacked our media offices, and who are attacking minorities. This entire anger, she has said, is manufactured by the extremists.
There
And
are
that's just a fig leaf for actually carrying out the bigger agenda, an Islamist takeover of Bangladesh.
Bangladesh is not going to be taken over by Islamists, and you'll see that in 2 months. There is an election in February. The moderate BNP party is probably going to win the election, and there are lots of other elements within the society. In every part of South Asia, you would find the fringe right, fringe left, those kind of parties. We have that in Bangladesh as well. But the bell curve, the middle of the bell curve is going to win the election, and you'll see it in two months. So let's reduce the temperature.
Hyperbole?
It is not just all hyperbole, but the way we are doing this conversation, we are conflating one killing with the government, one killing with the election, one killing with Hasina, all these things within like 10, 5 minutes, 20-minute discussion. It sounds hyperbolic.
Okay.
I'm just trying to give you the perspective.
Abhijit.
Look, it isn't hyperbole at all. Usually these things are linked. The environment against minorities is much more permissive, number one. Number two, the government did not collapse. Please, let's be very clear about it. It was brought down through a series of illegal, illegitimate protests. And the whole thing, the whole reason for those protests was that the elections were fixed. They were rigged. But then what happens is the new government that comes does not want to hold elections. The army literally has to threaten Mr. Yunus to get and force him to hold elections. Why? Padmaja, if the elections were rigged, all they had to do was call elections again and then they would be unrigged. No. They then want to come and fix everything so that they will not get rigged. They go threaten the Chief Justice of the Bangladesh High Court, threaten him, threaten to beat him up, whatnot. I don't remember if they actually beat him up, and then threaten all kinds of government officials, get rid of them. Even after 1 year, this man was not. So what rigging are you talking about?
Mr. Rabbi.
Okay.
I completely agree with our other Bangladeshi friend here. When the bell curve, sure enough, it will come back to the center. But remember, the center is only the Awami League. The BNP was soft Islamists. The Jamaat-e-Islami are crazy lunatics. They are the same Razakars that helped the Pakistan army rape and kill Bangladeshis.
Guys,
never forget. You cannot have a 1936 Hitler election where people who want to get rid of the democracy are given the mandate. It simply cannot happen.
Mr. Rabbi.
So, yeah, if you look at the statistics, BNP and Awami League, two major parties, probably have 35% of the vote. About, let's say, 60 to 70% of Bangladeshis belong to these two parties. Then you have the remaining 30 split between many different parties, including some Islamic parties. So in the last 14-15 years, just that 130% ruled the country with brutal force aided by certain foreign factors. It's the perception if it's not the reality. I give you that. It is the perception here in Bangladesh that Awami League's 30% majority was blessed by some external forces. Let's just agree that it's a perception.
Okay.
And that perception went ahead with the processions and all the marches and the revolution, they call it. Sheikh Hasina collapsed. Now we are going through a phase. There is going to be an election. Bangladesh will have a moderate government. Probably the other 30% that I said, which is probably BNP.
Well, I'm marvel at your confidence, sir. Harshvardhan Tripathi, do you also agree with this? We had Mr. Rabi very clearly saying this is just a phase and eventually moderate voices, sane voices will prevail और ये कोई हिंदू फोबिया, कोई लार्ज स्केल अटैक नहीं है।
भैया मैं तो सचमुच बड़ा सरप्राइजिंग स्टेटमेंट दे रहे हैं राबी साहब। वो कह रहे हैं कि एक्सटर्नल फोर्सेस, तो साफ साफ कहिए ना कि आप भारत की बात कर रहे हैं। आप जिस तरह से बीएनपी की पैरोकारी कर रहे हैं, बीएनपी के नेता को गोली मार दी गई, बीएनपी के लोगों के भी घर जला दिए गए। जमात वहां पर खड़ी है जहां वो किसी को भी मॉडरेट शब्द वो बर्दाश्त करने वाली नहीं। आईएसआईएस के फ्लैग्स वो हर रैली में दिख रहे हैं और उस्मान हादी के फ्यूनरल में जो भीड़ इकट्ठा हुई थी उसके नारे जरा आप देखिए। और अगर भारत बांग्लादेश के साथ रिश्ते अच्छे रखता है, बांग्लादेश की ग्रोथ सबसे बेहतर होती है, बांग्लादेश की टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री भारत के लिए भी थ्रेट बनती है, लेकिन भारत के साथ उसके रिश्ते खराब नहीं होते। क्या बांग्लादेश के लोगों को ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा है? और उस यूथ को जिसको एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिला, उस यूथ की जिसका लाइफस्टाइल बेटर हुई, उस यूथ को आप कह रहे हैं कि सड़कों पर उतरकर इस तरह से बांग्लादेश को बर्बाद करे, बांग्ला कल्चर, बांग्ला म्यूजिक, बांग्ला आर्ट, बांग्ला सब कुछ बांग्ला खत्म कर दे। और पाकिस्तान के, मैं क्या कहूं, आप अगर ये नहीं जानते हैं, पिछले कुछ महीनों में आईएसआई और पाकिस्तानी आर्मी के लोग क्या कर रहे थे ढाका में? क्या आपको नहीं पता यूनुस जिस तरह से आए, उनके जो एडवाइजर्स हैं वो कौन लोग हैं? ये आप नहीं जानते राबी साहब? कमाल कर रहे हैं आप। कम से कम आप तो ये बात बताइए ना, ठीक है बीएनपी आ जाए उसमें कोई इशू नहीं, बांग्लादेश की इंटरनल मैटर है, लेकिन जब आप कहते हैं कि मॉडरेट गवर्नमेंट आने वाली है, ईश्वर करे ये हो, लेकिन ऐसा होता हुआ नहीं दिख रहा है। जमात, रेडिकल फोर्सेस और आईएसआईएस जो आईएसआई के साथ मिलकर वहां वो कब्जा करने जा रहे हैं। बांग्लादेश के लिए बुरे दिन की शुरुआत।
And you know, manifestation of that we have seen not just in the last 2 weeks, but since the removal of the Sheikh Hasina government. Now, if we are being told that this is just a phase and moderate voices will prevail, let's just hope that this is actual confidence, it is reality, and it's not delusion. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining me on that big story.